Namaste, good afternoon. I am Sonal Goel, IAS officer of 2008 batch. Standing here at the esteemed Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College, I am extremely delighted, honored, and whenever I visit College of Delhi University, I am definitely reminded of my own journey as a student. So basically from 2002 2006, almost 6 years I spent at Delhi University, first at Shri Ram College of Commerce during my graduation at SRCC, and then I did my law from Faculty of Law. So I definitely have very fond memories. And this was also the time of my life which changed the course of my journey. So we all, at this moment, we are at the place of transition. And you being the young generation, you are at this phase, which is a transition from certainty to confusion, from structure to freedom, and from being told what to do to deciding what and who you want to become. Till this time, till your school days, you all had been in a protective environment of family, friends, school, teachers. But from this moment and your upcoming few next years would be the time where you all would see that transition happening. And somewhere in this transition, you all will enter into this labyrinth, which is the theme for today's TEDx talk. And this labyrinth, what I want to discuss with you is the labyrinth within. So how do we navigate our own Chakravyuh? This is what I would like to discuss with you all today. This character I don't need to explain. We all have read about, we all have seen on our television screens the story of the brave warrior Abhimanyu, who entered into the Chakravyuh without even knowing that he does not know the way out. And despite knowing that he did not know the way out of that Chakravyuh, he was very much uncertain. But what led him to enter and fight was his inner strength, inner belief, inner courage. And that is what, friends, we are all today here to discuss, that what matters most in our lives is how do we move forward with courage, with our determination, with our perseverance. And from a very young age, we all have been hearing that, yes, there is a straight path in life. Maybe the straight path is study well, get good scores, and everything will fall in a place. But life actually unfolds like a labyrinth. And we all see that how every new situation, every new layer adds a new challenge. So we have to have that kind of a mindset that maybe one approach cannot navigate every phase of life. And then how do we approach this Chakravyuh? We all need to have that reflections upon. Very briefly, I would like to share about my journey, my labyrinth. Way back in 2003, when I was a student like you all in Shri Ram College of Commerce, I read about civil services. Till that time, friends, my family belongs to Panipat district, Haryana. And I'm talking almost 2 decades back. I'm talking about that journey. Nobody in my family had ever discussed about civil services, had ever even thought about coming into civil services, and I was already about to enter into the corporate sector as a professional career. When I discussed about this, there were a lot of apprehensions, and actually it took me around 5-6 months. So my inner calling initially was that yes, I will do my graduation, I will do my company secretaryship, I will join the corporate sector. But then it later on changed and it evolved inside me. And what happened was that I tried to answer my inner calling, and that actually definitely required that shift in the approach. So continuing about my journey, so when I discussed this with my parents' family, they did not agree. It took me around 5-6 months. And then when they agreed, my father also suggested me that because civil services is one of the most uncertain examinations, the competition is very tough. And there is no guarantee that even after 2-3 attempts, you will be able to clear this examination. And all said and done, nobody in the family had ever attempted, and the statistics said that the pass percentage is not even 1%. So these were all such uncertainties, and the most important was the societal belief in which I was grooming up. In our family, if a girl was educated up to the level of, say, graduation, that was considered to be enough. If you are studying beyond graduation, they would have all kinds of nuances, like a patriarchal mindset. That if a girl studies too much, maybe there would be issues in her getting married. How will she settle her family life? So I navigated all throughout, and then my father said, if you want to join civil services, we will support you. But he also said that you should have a clear-cut plan B in your life. So that is how, friends, in 2004, I completed my CS. My graduation was already complete in 2003. And in the same year, I appeared for my LLB entrance from Delhi University. I took admission in Faculty of Law. And then 3 things parallelly were happening in my life. So my focus was on civil services preparation. I was also doing my part-time job as a company secretary because I wanted to have some experience of the corporate sector along with supporting my higher studies, at least to an extent, if not fully, and then, of course, my law classes. So this was not an easy phase, lot of challenges, and I think that labyrinth was what? The labyrinth was like, how do I improvise and how do I reach up to the level which I aspire for future journey of my life? And why this slide I put in? Because this journey was not a success in the first attempt. So I appeared for my first attempt in 2006. I wrote prelims, I wrote mains examination, which are like the 3 stages of UPSC civil services. And I flunked at the second stage. So when I flunked, so then definitely I was dejected, demotivated, and then I analyzed why I failed. And when I realized that my score in my weak areas, which were the general studies subject, it was very less. So then I made a commitment that now it should not be the reason of my failure, and I tried to give my best. I appeared for my next attempt. In 2007, prelims, mains, interview, I got selected. In my batch, my rank was All India 13th. But what was more satisfying for me was that my marks in the general studies subject were even higher than my core optionals. So that was a kind of a complexity which was there inside me, which was kind of making me lag behind, but then I overcame those challenges. So coming from this journey aspect then to my experiences. So I joined Tripura cadre in 2009 after I did my training at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie. And then when I joined the state, very beautiful state in the northeast, but frankly, it was not easy for me. I had never stayed in a hostel. So staying there alone, understanding the people's aspiration, developing that connect with them, and learning a new language. In Tripura, the majority people speak Bengali. So I had to learn Bengali language, and this example which I have mentioned here is of my first independent posting days of 2010 of Ambasa subdivision in district Dhalai. So it is a very remote place, and there were few areas in my subdivision in which if you have to reach, you have to travel at least 8 to 10 kilometers on foot. So as an SDM, my priority was always to reach out to those areas and then to see that whether our setup, government setup functionaries, they are working well or not. There were definitely challenges in that because of the remoteness, because of the connectivity issues. And therein my collaboration approach with the border security force. Tripura has the longest international border with Bangladesh. And the BSF commandant, the officers, they helped us so much that this is how, in field also there are a lot of challenges which we kind of face. But it is our inner strength, it is our potential which helps us to move forward, which is our determination which helps us to move forward. This aspect also I deliberately kept because whenever I interact with the students, there are questions on, ma'am, how do you feel as a women officer? Is the society equal? Or did you feel any kind of discrimination? So definitely there is an inherent bias in the system, starting from the birth of a girl child. You may not experience in your families, but I have seen, I have worked in the remotest parts of the country, and then during my inter-cadre deputation tenure to Haryana, when I was working as Deputy Commissioner Jhajjar, there was very less acceptance to see a woman officer being a Deputy Commissioner. So there are these invisible biases. You are twice as visible, twice as judged. Your ambitions are definitely similar or maybe a bit higher than your male counterparts. But then you have to keep on proving your own self. That is still there. And then it is also a fact that there are some responsibilities which are endowed to a woman by virtue of nature, by the reproductive system, bearing a child, giving birth to a baby, breastfeeding. So there are many moments wherein your professional career and your personal life may not move in tandem with each other. And they may be rather conflicting. Your male counterparts, your batchmates are getting promoted, posted, but you are not given those assignments. So yes, this is another complexity which is still there, but what we are seeing now is that women officers across India, they are proving their mettle and they are very well, they are managing their professional lives along with the personal duties and responsibilities. Coming to you as a student, so what is this Chakravyuh, friends? I always feel that this Chakravyuh is something which is inner, which is inside us. So it is within us, and self-doubts begins to surface, pressure tends to build up. And then there is always a constant, often unspoken need to prove again and again. Even as a student, even as a brother, even as a sister. And I have tried to formulate them into 3 layers. The first layer is definitely the layer of expectations. Each one of us is burdened by this. What is this layer of expectation? The family expectations, the peer expectations, the societal expectations. And sometimes you are actually choosing a path which you may not want to do, but because you are inheriting it from the circumstances around you. There is also this second layer which I have termed as the layer of fear. The fear factor, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment. Each one of us, even I have seen during my service period and even prior to that, even toppers struggle. Nobody has had success served to them on a platter, and that is why it is many a times this fear overpowers us. But friends, I have to remind you that your marks may define an outcome, but they definitely do not define your potential. Our potential is much, much beyond our marks. There is some issue in the PPT. Yeah. So the third layer is, again, the layer of identity. Are we identified with our marks, with our maybe CGPA score, with our assignments, with our LinkedIn handles, with the number of impressions our post on social media gets? Because we are trying to kind of relate our identity to these very narrow parameters. What we need to do is build a wider self. And how do we build a wider self? This is again an acronym which I designed when I was preparing for this talk, and I have called this as inner approach, INNER. What is I? I stands for introspection. Ask yourself honest questions. And friends, this introspection needs to be done by you, by us, by me regularly. It is not that only once in a while you are doing. Make it a habit. The second N is normalize self-doubt. Self-doubt is definitely not weakness. It is a path of natural progression. Navigate, do not react. If you have any challenge you foresee, how do I react to that challenge? That should be your strategy. Empathize is also very important. And then your resilience with reflection. How do I move out of this situation with my strength and my resilience? That is very, very important. And friend, just to sum up, every challenge is a teacher. Each challenge which our life gives to us is a teacher, and growth requires a new mindset. If you aspire from X to move to Y, there might be a shift of the approach that you would require. And success is who you become. It is not your scores, it is not your target, it is not your marks. It is whom you visualize and who you become. That is the most important. And grow for others too. This is also very, very important for each one of us to understand that we are staying in a collaboration and we have to help build others also. And then, yes, the most important is that labyrinth is a path. It is a journey. It is not one milestone. It is a milestone which you keep achieving. And once you achieve one, you will move to the another milestone. That is what we need to understand. And just to conclude that your Chakravyu is not designed to trap you, friends. The Chakravyu is not designed to trap us. It is actually designed to transform us. It is also designed to have that inner capability, that inner resilience, inner perseverance, determination, build that potential within us. So this Chakravyu is there to transform you, and at this moment it is okay for you, for us not to have all answers. It is perfectly fine for us to have not all answers. But what is required is the courage to begin. You need that courage to begin. And then you also need the wisdom to reflect. Wisdom to reflect. Why? Because the path you have chosen, whether that is okay or not, or whether you need to re-strategize your approach. And then definitely your strength to continue. Your strength to continue is most important, because unless and until you give your efforts, you will not achieve what you aspire for in your life. So I'll repeat it for all of you. Your courage to begin, your wisdom to reflect, and your strength to continue. They all will be your guiding force. And the labyrinth within is definitely navigable. And how do we navigate our own inner Chakravyu with our own potential? That strategy, that strength lies within each one of us. Thank you so much.